This woman is being threatened at gunpoint. She is recording everything. And what she doesn't know is that she is actually recording the last minutes of her life. The camera is shaking in her hands. Her husband stands in the driveway, wearing a bathrobe and holding a shotgun. He's walking toward her. His face is twisted with rage. She can see he's serious, but maybe part of her still can't believe he'll actually do it. They've been married for 20 years. They have a teenage daughter. She is hoping that he won't pull the trigger, but something happens. On December 6, 2021, Texas police received a frantic call from a concerned neighbor. They reported hearing gunshots. Police immediately arrived at the scene on Rose Dawn Lane in Spring, Texas. As they saw a woman lying dead in the driveway and her husband standing nearby, it was clear he had killed her. What investigators found next would turn this into one of the most disturbing cases they had ever worked. Patricia had recorded her own murder. Patricia Birmingham, known as Rici to those who loved her, was 48 years old. To anyone looking from the outside, she had built an incredible life. She was described by everyone who knew her as vivacious, full of life, and beautiful, both inside and out. Rici was a trailblazer in her career. She had become the first certified and registered cardiovascular technologist in Savannah, Georgia. Later, she earned a BA in business administration while working at hospitals in Dallas and Houston, literally saving lives as part of her job. In 2020, despite the pandemic disrupting everything, Rici became one of the top real estate agents in Houston. She mentored other agents and helped people find their dream homes. She was a born-again Christian who was known for her kindness and her faith. Most importantly, she was a mother to her 16-year-old daughter, Olivia. The two were incredibly close. Rici's entire world revolved around making sure Olivia had everything she needed. Rici Birmingham was 60 years old. He and Rici had been married for roughly 20 years. They lived in a nice house in Spring, a suburb northwest of Houston. To neighbors, they seemed like a normal couple. They had arguments like everyone else, but nothing that seemed unusual or alarming. But something had been building beneath the surface. According to what came out later in court, Rici believed that Rici was having an affair. He also believed she had been stealing money from him. Whether these accusations were true or not would be debated. But what's certain is that Rici became consumed by these beliefs. His anger grew, his jealousy festered. And on December 6, 2021, everything exploded. That Monday afternoon started with an argument. Rici and Rici began fighting inside their home. The argument was about the alleged affair and the money. Rici's rage was building with every word. Rici was defending herself, refusing to back down. The video that Patricia recorded would later be shown in court. It was 30 minutes long. The first part captured them arguing inside the house. Their voices were raised. Rici was getting angrier by the minute. At one point, he can be heard saying, "I am done." Rici responds, "I am done too." But things quickly escalated beyond just angry words. At some point during the argument, Rici grabbed his shotgun. This was no longer just a fight between a married couple. This had become a life-or-death situation. The argument moved outside to the driveway. Maybe Rici thought getting outside would de-escalate things. Maybe she thought neighbors would see and intervene. Maybe she thought the open space would make Rici less likely to do something violent. Whatever her reasoning, she grabbed her phone and started recording. In the video, you can see Rici walking toward her, the shotgun in his hands. He's wearing a bathrobe, which makes the scene even more surreal. This is happening in broad daylight, in the middle of a suburban neighborhood, and a man in a bathrobe is about to murder his wife. Patricia asks him, "Do you really want to do this on video?" She's recording him. She's documenting everything. Maybe she thinks this will stop him. Maybe she thinks if there's evidence of what he's doing, he won't go through with it. Or maybe she just wants someone to know what happened if he does kill her. Rici doesn't care about the camera. He tells her she's going to meet Jesus. He tells her he hopes it was worth it, referring to the alleged affair, and then he fires 3 times. The sound of the shotgun blasts is deafening on the recording. Patricia collapses. The phone falls but keeps recording. And then Rici Birmingham turns and walks back into the house. He doesn't try to help his wife. He doesn't call 911. He doesn't check to see if she's still alive. He just leaves her body lying in the driveway. Olivia Birmingham was 17 years old. That Monday, she was at school, living a normal teenage life. She had no idea what was happening at home. She had no idea that by the time she got back, her entire world would be destroyed. When Olivia came home from school that day, she found police cars surrounding her house. She saw her mother's body in the driveway covered by a sheet. She learned that her father had been arrested for murder. In one afternoon, she lost both of her parents. "I lost both my parents that day," Olivia would later say in court. "My dad died that day too because the person who did that to my mom and my father aren't the same person." Olivia had to process an unimaginable trauma. Her mother was dead. Her father was the one who killed her. The man who was supposed to protect their family had destroyed it in the most violent way possible. And Olivia would later testify that she had never witnessed her father physically abuse her mother before this. There were no warning signs that he was capable of something like this. When police arrived at the scene on Rose Dawn Lane in the 19,800 block, they found Patricia dead in the driveway from an apparent gunshot wound. Rici Birmingham was at the property. He didn't run. He didn't try to hide what he had done. But what made this case extraordinary was the video. Patricia had recorded the entire confrontation. She had captured her husband's threats. She had captured his words about her meeting Jesus. She had captured the moment he pulled the trigger. The evidence was about as clear as evidence could possibly be. Rici Birmingham was arrested and charged with murder. There was no question about what had happened. The video showed everything. Dozens of neighbors had heard the gunshots. The physical evidence was overwhelming. This was not going to be a case about proving guilt. This was going to be a case about punishment. As the case moved toward trial, Carrie's defense attorney Anthony also faced an impossible task. How do you defend someone who was caught on video murdering their spouse? The answer was that you don't try to defend the action. You try to explain it. Osso's strategy was to accept responsibility, but convince jurors that Carrie had shot Patricia in the heat of the moment, driven by sudden passion. Under Texas law, sudden passion can be a mitigating factor in sentencing. It doesn't excuse the crime, but it can reduce the punishment. "We never tried to justify the actions of our client," Osso said. But the defense wasn't about justification. It was about why he did what he did. The defense painted a picture of a man who had discovered his wife's affair, who believed she had stolen from him, and who snapped in a moment of overwhelming emotion. They argued that this wasn't premeditated murder. This was a man who lost control. The prosecution had a different view. They had the video. They could show jurors exactly what happened. They could show that Carrie had time to think about what he was doing. He grabbed a gun. He followed his wife outside. He pointed the weapon at her. She asked him if he really wanted to do this on video. And he said she was going to meet Jesus before pulling the trigger 3 times. That wasn't sudden passion. That was murder. The trial took place in 2024, more than 2 years after Patricia's death. In a rare occurrence, the jury was composed entirely of women. 12 women who would have to watch the video of Patricia's final moments. Women who would have to listen to the gunshots. 12 women who would decide how many years Rici Birmingham should spend in prison. Olivia testified about the impact this had on her life. She talked about her mother, about the vibrant woman who had been taken from her. She talked about how her father's actions had destroyed their family. She provided a victim impact statement that left everyone in tears. The jury found Rici Birmingham guilty of murder. That was never in doubt. But then came the sentencing phase, and this is where things became controversial. In Texas, murder convictions can carry sentences ranging from 5 years to life in prison. The prosecution asked for the maximum. Patricia's family begged for justice. They wanted Carrie to spend the rest of his life behind bars for what he had done. But the jury sentenced him to 10 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. Just 10 years. With the possibility of parole after serving 5 years. Rici Birmingham could be out of prison by 2029, less than a decade after murdering his wife on camera. When the sentence was announced, Patricia's family was devastated. Her sister Mary Dees wrote on social media, "My sister was strong and would not back down or show fear to this man." The prosecutors did an outstanding job and were just as shocked with the verdict. I believe the judge was even shocked. Justice was not given here. My sister did not deserve this. Many people who followed the case couldn't understand the light sentence. Patricia had been murdered in cold blood. The entire thing was caught on video. Carrie had shown no mercy. He had fired 3 shots. He had left her body in the driveway and walked away, and he was getting only 10 years? Some people wondered if the all-female jury had somehow sympathized with Carrie's claims about the affair. Did they think that Patricia's alleged infidelity made the crime less serious? Did they buy the defense's argument about sudden passion? Olivia was heartbroken by the sentence. She spoke about how she could never forgive her father for what he did. She said she wanted to raise awareness about different types of abuse, and that what happened to her mother was the ultimate form of domestic violence. I don't know, sudden passion? Olivia questioned. You have to have something. You have to have made that decision within you for a while. I feel like to do something like that to someone you really love. She was right. The video showed that Carrie had time to think. He had grabbed a gun. He had followed Patricia outside. She had asked him if he really wanted to do this. He had 30 minutes of arguing before he pulled the trigger. That wasn't a split-second decision made in the heat of passion. That was a choice. Patricia Birmingham was more than just a murder victim. She was a successful professional who had worked her way up in the medical field, and then reinvented herself as a top real estate agent. She was a mother who loved her daughter more than anything. She was a sister, a friend, a mentor to others in her industry. The fact that she recorded her own death means the world will never forget what happened to her. That video is evidence that can never be erased or disputed. Patricia documented her final moments, perhaps hoping it would ensure justice was served. But the 10-year sentence left many people, including her own family, feeling that justice was not served. 10 years for a life. 10 years for murdering someone on camera. 10 years for leaving a 17-year-old girl without a mother. Carrie Birmingham is currently serving his sentence. He will be eligible for parole after 5 years, meaning he could be released as early as 2026 or 2027. He will still have years of life ahead of him when he gets out. Patricia will never have that chance. She died at 48 years old, shot 3 times by the man who had promised to love her. Olivia is now an adult, trying to build a life without her mother. She has spoken publicly about the case, trying to honor her mother's memory and raise awareness about domestic violence. She said in court that she wanted her father to know that no matter what was said in the trial, he knew what type of woman Patricia was, and he knew what he did and how he took away her favorite person in this world. The house on Rosedawn Lane still stands. The driveway where Patricia died has been walked on thousands of times since that December day. Life goes on in that neighborhood. But for those who knew Patricia, and for everyone who watched that horrifying video, the memory of what happened will never fade. Patricia Birmingham recorded the last minutes of her life. She captured her husband's rage, his threats, and his final words before he murdered her. She made sure the world would know exactly what happened. And that video remains as powerful evidence of a life taken too soon and a justice system that many believe failed to deliver appropriate punishment.